Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today we are chatting about the books that I bought last September. We're doing a revisit. I have to pick one and put it on my TBR for this September. So let's get into it. So I bought 27 books last September. Which is a lot. That's a huge haul. My hauls have been like dwindling, which is a good thing because I have, as you know, so many books on my shelf, so many. So today our job is to go through the books that I hauled last September and decide which one I want to put on my TBR for this month. I failed miserably with my August pick. I didn't read it. I'm moving on. So we'll see what happens this September. The first haul that I did, I got Inhuman Resources by Pierre Lemaitre. Now Pierre Lemaitre, he wrote Blood Wedding, he also wrote Alex. I loved Blood Wedding. Alex was just okay for me. Inhuman Resources is about a guy who will do anything basically for his job, and I think he like really crosses some lines. This is a thriller. Pierre Lemaitre, he's not afraid to go to some pretty dark places. So there's that. I also got The Real Lolita, which is based on the true case of a little girl who was basically sexually assaulted. It's based on, like, it's this true story of Lolita, and I think her name was Sally something or other. I want to say Sally Horner. It's nonfiction. That book still gives me like anxiety to pick that one up, so I probably won't pick that one. Little Paris Bookshop sounds like a really sweet story about, I think, a man who gives books to people as a like form of therapy, like literary therapy, which I really love the idea of that. The Bat is by Yo Nesbo. Is it Joe Nesbo or Yo Nesbo? I never know. I think it's Yo Nesbo. And this is the first in the Harry Hole series. I'm not sure I want to read all of the Harry Hole series. I read The Snowman and I enjoyed it, but I'm looking for a detective series where I can get like really attached to the detective, and it didn't do that for me, so I probably won't pick up that one either. Sweet Little Lies is about a woman who's on the police force, and she discovers that her father might have been involved in a murder, and she, I think, has to start trying to figure out if her dad did it or not. That sounds terrifying. House of Names is, I believe, like a classical story retelling, like a not classic literature, but like Greek god retelling. Is it Aries that they follow? I'm not exactly sure anymore, but that is also not one that I'm really, I don't know, it doesn't really appeal to me right now. And then there's The Art of Extreme Care, extreme self-care, I should say. And my mom got this one for me, and it's just about trying to incorporate self-care into your life. I think I was going through a really hard time last September, and so mom to the rescue, right? This is not surprising. Then my second haul, I got quite a few. There's Dead Girls, which is, oh my goodness, so good. Dead Girls is a thriller slash horror book about these two little girls who are attached at the hip. One of them dies, she's murdered, and the other one decides, you know what, that doesn't just happen to my best friend, and like a man walks away off, you know, scot-free. So she decides to get revenge, and she uses, I think, a Ouija board. She gets in contact with all of these ghosts in order to exact revenge, and it's a lot of fun and a very feminist thriller horror book. In the House in the Dark of the Woods is about a woman who goes into the woods and she gets lost. She meets someone there as well. It's a horror story, but like literary horror, which I am interested in. That might be a good one for like October maybe. Pachinko is also incredibly well known. This one is about a girl who she becomes pregnant, and the man she's supposed to marry kind of just bails on her and leaves. And she actually meets someone else. He's an elderly man, and he agrees to be her husband. They have to move from Korea to Japan, and it sounds like Koreans moving to Japan at this time, it's historical fiction, I think in the early 1900s, they were not welcomed very much, and they were kind of considered like second-class citizens. And so it is their experience. Blood Orange I read. I hated that book. It was a thriller about a lawyer, like the worst lawyer ever, a lawyer who is taking a case for this woman who says, you know, I totally killed my husband. And she's trying to discover what happened behind the scenes. Like, is there more to this story or not? But in the end, like, I'm not going to tell you the end of the story, but it really focused more on the lawyer's life than the case, which I did not like. I hated that book. Sea Prayer is a beautiful story. It's an illustrated book about the refugee experience, you know, waiting for a boat to escape Syria, and it is very sad. Like, you can read this in the span of 5 minutes, and if you're not crying, well, I don't know what that says about you. Honestly, I was in tears. It's very heart-wrenching. Transcription by Kate Atkinson. I got this last September and read it immediately. It was so good. I really liked it. This is about a woman in World War II. She's a secretary. She's, you know, typing up notes for important men, and then she becomes involved with the war and she becomes a spy, and it's not like this glamorous thing that she had imagined, but she gets very much, I don't know, into that world, and I really, really loved it. The Marriage Lie is a book I think my mom got from me. She had read it and really liked it, and this is about a couple. The woman in the couple discovers that her husband, I believe, died in a plane crash, and she's like, how is that even humanly possible? He was not supposed to be on that plane. Like, he was basically having another life, which is terrifying. And she's trying to like sort out who he really was and what was really going on. The Boat Runner is a World War II book about these two boys who help their uncle on the seas, I think, and they get involved. Their father decides that they should join the Nazi Party, and it is about their experience and like their difficulty with that, like not wanting to do it. A Little Life is supposed to be incredibly sad, like very, very sad. I don't know if I'm up for that. It's also huge, but it follows a man who just doesn't have any luck, but it's about him and his whole group of friends, and apparently they're amazing. So like, I do want to read that at some point. I don't think now is the time. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. This is a book that I got because I'm always wanting to make my marriage better, and this book is supposed to be really, really amazing for it. Sadly, I still haven't read it. I got it a year ago, and I still have not read that. Probably something I should rectify. Jar of Hearts is a confusing thriller, I think. It's about this group of friends who were all friends in high school. They discover that one of their ex-boyfriends was actually a serial killer, and the body of one of their friends has been discovered finally after all of these years, and they're like unraveling what happened. The Little French Bistro is written by the same person who wrote the Little Paris Bookshop. And this one is about a woman who's not doing well in her life. I think she's getting a divorce and she decides to move to France and work at a little bistro. Lincoln and the Bardot is, I don't know if it's magical realism or how you would classify this. I haven't read it, but it is about Abraham Lincoln, and he is in the graveyard after his son has died, and he's talking to all of these ghosts. I guess that would be magical realism, right? I don't know. Sounds interesting. I'm also slightly terrified of it. It's very much like literary fiction. Mr. Flood's Last Resort I read and loved this book so much. This is by Jess Kidd. It was my first Jess Kidd and I really, really liked it. It is about a woman who goes to care for an elderly man in this enormous house, and he is a hoarder. It's actually called The Hoarder in the UK, and I really think they should have stuck with that for the US Canada version, because it's so atmospheric. Like, you can sense all of the junk in the house, and like you can sense that you could like trip over something any moment because it's so jam-packed. But it is about this woman who goes to take care of this man, and it is about the secrets of his past, the people who have died in the house, and her trying to solve a mystery. But it's not a mystery. It's contemporary. It's like a mix. It's like a lovely mix, and I just adored that book. A Column of Fire is like book 3 in the Ken Follett Pillars of the Earth series, so I haven't read the first one, so I would not read this. Songs of Love and War is about, it's a historical fiction book about this group of friends who all grew up really close to this one like castle kind of building. I think one of the girls lives in the castle and it's like her home, and the other ones just live on the outskirts or something. They're all really close until there is a betrayal. And I think this takes place in World War I. Don't quote me on that, but I think it does. Friend Request is a thriller about a woman who gets a friend request on Facebook from a person who is supposed to have died many years ago. What happened? How is this person still alive? Is it that person, or someone like faking it and trying to pretend that they're them? Ugh. One Pot is just a cookbook. It's a cookbook that I think could come in really handy right about now. It's all about throwing everything into one pot and then cooking from there. And I like that idea. Simple. The more simple, the better. Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I mean, everyone has read this except me, I think. This is about a woman who you follow when she's in a coma. Now, she's in the coma surrounded by her husband and her best friend, not her best friend, her sister. And it becomes apparent that it's either one of these people that put her in the coma in the first place. And wouldn't that be terrifying? That would be terrifying. And finally, A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I have read this and loved it. This is a possession story. In the best of ways, we follow two sisters. One of them is possessed, or is she? And it's written from the perspective of the younger sister. And can you imagine how terrifying your childhood would be if your older sister was possessed? And it's about the family trying to sort out what's going on with this girl. And they even get to the point where they need to say yes to a ridiculous reality TV show in order to like pay for hospital bills and stuff. And it's really good. I really, really loved it. So those are all 27 books that I got in September. I have read 6 of them. And now I need to choose one. And I have chosen an easy one. I feel like thrillers are always easy to read. So I went with Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I want to know this story so badly, and I actually started reading just like the first couple of pages, and it's really well written. Surprisingly well written. So that is really encouraging to me. Let me know in the comments below if you have read this. Now, I'm not usually a domestic thriller kind of girl, and this sounds domestic thriller-y, which makes me nervous. So I'd love to know in the comments below what you thought of this. If you have read it, don't give me any spoilers because I still have to read it. Also, let me know if you wanted me to pick something else. Did I pick well? Let me know. I hope that you guys are doing well, and I will talk with you soon. Bye!
April, would you mind using the rubber hose instead of the handcuffs tonight?
Sure.